Welcome to the Success Ascent. My name is Pat Mancuso, the creator and host of our show, and we are excited that you are with us today. And we're also excited to have a very special guest with us. In fact, coming from Canada. And I think, Christine, you are our first Canadian interview, and we're really excited about that, considering that, I live in Minnesota, and we're almost like an adopted Canadian state. So,
I heard about you, but I never met you. So nice to meet you, cousin.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I start off every show and say thank you so much for supporting our show. If you enjoy what you hear, please go to www.thesuccessascent.com. Subscribe. We'll send you updates. Also, please subscribe at your favorite podcast source. And ratings and reviews are very, very important to us, and we always love the feedback. So let me tell you about Christine. Christine Patton is the Power Within, is an elite performance and resilience teacher, trainer, who works with business and professional people to eliminate burnout and become unstoppable. And I bet there's probably some things you can share with us about what we've been going through in the last year that would help us become resilient. She is a retired lawyer and judge. That might be interesting to get into. Is familiar with stress that comes from driving forward in one's craft. She's the founder of the Mental Edge in Sports Performance, the author of Showing Up, Becoming the Me I Want to Be, Aligning Your Life and Work for True Success, and is also a certified trainer and coach with the HeartMath Institute. So welcome, Christine, to the show.
Thank you, Pat. It's a pleasure to be here.
So,
and I didn't know I'm the first Canadian. I just feel
first Canadian. Yeah, now I'm going to be in trouble if you actually aren't the first Canadian, but I was going back in my memory, and I'm pretty sure that you are. So, Christine, I always love to start off the show, and I say that was Christine on paper. Tell us who the real Christine is. Like, tell us something about Christine that maybe nobody knows.
Wow. Yeah, none of that was true. Did you?
No, that's all true.
You believe that stuff? Come on.
It's all true.
It's all, it's all true. Who's the real me? I don't know. I haven't grown up yet, so I'm still finding that out myself. But I had a career in law, realized that although I loved it, and I realized something about myself recently. So, how many years, 20 years past, I had the mind to practice law, to be a judge, to be a mediator, and I was good at it. But what I didn't have was the emotional capacity. And I didn't have the emotional maturity that I have now, if I have any, to deal with all of that. And what I realized today was I help people, as I did back then. I was an insurance defense litigator, and I served other clients as well. But what I do now, I do without fighting with people. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that all of law is about fighting with people, but I was drawn to, I think, other lawyers who took that stance sometimes, and it didn't feel good. And I didn't feel good in my firm. I didn't necessarily like the bench in some of the cities I practiced. So today I love everybody, and I can pick and choose who I work with, right? And you know that too, being a coach and doing all the work you do, is you can choose now. Absolutely. Who your clients are.
Absolutely. So let's start a little bit and talk. On our show, the Success Ascent is about the journey upwards, and we know it's never completely upward. Sometimes it's backwards, sometimes it's sideways, and yet it's a journey, right? It's not a destination. So what would be some things that jump out at you that you share with people, entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, the folks that the circles you run in, about the journey of success that you've learned?
It's funny, and I don't know why this came to mind, but do you remember the saying, you do what you most need to learn?
Yes.
So I think I'm proving that I needed to learn how to think, how to feel, how to manage subconscious belief systems, how to embrace passion, all those things. And I can't remember your question now, but the fact is that, we talk about success all the time in our society. We're driven for success, and success feels good. I mean, success is a very good thing. It's what is the measure of success? And I'm sure you talk about that in your own coaching program. What is the measure of success? And, we talk about this all the time in our coaching circles. Is it the money and the fame and the power and the things? Is it happiness? Is it peace? Is it balance? Is it wholeness? And I think it's embracing all of that. But the point is that how our life looks to us is what success is. When it looks good and it feels good, that's what success is. And so what creates that? I mean, we all know. I've met people who have nothing, and yet they're happy.
Right.
They're happy and they're balanced and they love, they give. I've met people with a shit ton of money, excuse my French. And
you're in Canada, part of Canada is French speaking. So there you go.
And, they're miserable. So I'm like, okay. And I had to look at that. I had to look at that very carefully as I grew up to where I am today, and realize it really depends individually on what's important to the person. And the most important thing I want to say in this is the HeartMath Institute, for example, who has certified me to do the resilience work. They talk about the soundtrack of your life, the soundtrack being the music, and that's your emotions. So how do you feel about your life in the moment overall? Because that dictates how your life looks to you. And that's important to understand.
So we'll want to visit more about that in that method, because I'd love to hear some points around that. Sure. I want to go back to the question and just, if you were to do, no, because you gave a great answer, and yet I want to come back to, in this journey that you've been on.
Yep.
If somebody came to you and said, Christine, I want to be successful, and you're successful. Remember, it's never a destination, it's a journey. What have you learned that you would share with me if you had to do it all over again? What would you tell them?
Just what I said, and that is distill what's important to you. How do you want to feel about your life? Because those are questions we don't stop to ask ourselves. We're always looking on the outside. The answer's on the outside. The answer's on the outside. There's somebody who's going to help me. There's something that I need on the outside. No. Every answer. And the first thing I ask my clients is, where do you think the answers lie to improve your life? Because they've come to me to improve something, right? There's something
right.
They're not happy about, or I want to change this. I want to get better at this. Cool, all cool. And the one question is, where are the answers? And so what we get down to eventually is the answers are all inside, right? So when we're thinking we need stuff from the outside, that's our ego. That's what's been created from the time we were in utero. All the ideas that society has taught us, our parents, our teachers, media, clergy, coaches, whoever's had an influence in our life, those answers would be the first ones on our mind because that's our programming. But the fact is that what we really need for ourselves lies way deeper than that. And that's the inside voice.
So you talk about in the research that I did, you talk about the inner power, and that's what you're talking about, right?
Power within. Yep.
Okay. So help me if I'm somebody who's at a point right now in my life where I really don't know. Like, I really don't know what that inner being is saying to me.
Yes.
If that's someone who's listening, what would you say to them, or how would you coach them?
Okay. So number one, we have to learn to be quiet. Learn to be quiet, because that's the only way we're going to hear what ourself has to say to ourselves. We'll hear the intuitive voice. We'll listen to our heart. Now, this all sounds really woo-woo, but it's not. The intelligence of the heart is absolutely critical in learning practical intelligence, how to live in this world, particularly the one that we are living in right now. So at the end of the day, I'm coaching my clients to be quiet, because we're wired for a nuts life. We're wired to be busy. We're wired to want. We're wired to long. We're wired to succeed. So our nervous systems are just pushed to the max. And then when people collapse and get sick and bad things happen, they go, why did this happen? Well, because we've created this condition within us that is the stress condition, and stress is going to kill us. So again, we have to learn to be quiet. And it's a challenge for people who don't meditate, who don't practice this. Because we're addicted to the constant noise and the constant activity and the constant thinking and feeling and the drama and the reacting and all that stuff, your body wants to just blow up. You want to crawl out of your skin the first time you try to be quiet.
So I picture I'm relating to this. So the other night we're out, family dinner, we're driving to dinner, and we're in the car, and it's myself and my wife and my two daughters, and nobody's saying anything.
Okay.
And that drives me crazy. So
You guys mad at me?
For me, what's that?
Are you guys mad at me? What's happening?
No, it's just like I start, like I want to have a conversation and they're like, well, we just want to relax. And I'm going, relax?
What? Relax?
So here's the thing. So you mentioned meditation. Like, because I'm hearing this and I'm going, okay, so I gotta learn to quiet. I get it. How do I do it? Meditation, is that the way?
You know what, Pat? Just start the damn thing.
Okay, I'll start right now.
You say, oh, good. I get to carry the show. Awesome. So, all right, everyone.
So besides meditation, what would be some other things that would possibly work?
Okay. Besides sitting quietly and training your body inside and out to be quiet.
Is that it? Is there any other options?
Well, there's all kinds of options, but what is truly going to quiet your nervous system? So there's choosing your thoughts. Recognizing in the moment, Pat, that you are engaging in this program that you're mired in, and going, oh, there I go again, and just stop. There's something called flipping the switch, and that is literally stopping yourself in mid-thought, mid-emotion, and saying, wait a minute, I want to change my life, and if I'm going to do it, damn it, I've got to choose in this moment to think or feel something else. So you can do that. And you can create a list, create your list, your protocols of things that you love, things that bring you joy, things that calm you down, and purposefully switch your thinking to that and the feelings that come along with thinking those things. At first, you're going to go, this is ridiculous. This isn't working, but it does. In small increments, you will change the way you think. Now that changes your neuroplasticity. Your brain starts to rewire itself when you consciously more and more and more go, oh, wait a minute, there I go again. Or if you're getting angry at someone, or you see something on the news and you just fly into this, which we're at the end of our rope here in Canada, and I'm sure you are in the States as well with this damn COVID thing. But the fact is that it's just going, okay, I'm not going to pay attention. I'm not going to pay attention to this right now because it's stealing my energy. It's making me crazy and I hate this. So I'm going to think about my pet or my loved one or something I love doing, or I'm going to go for a bike ride. I'm going to go shoot hoops. I'm going to do whatever just to switch the pattern in my brain, in my body, and in my heart. So moment to moment choice. That was a long answer, but that's one thing you can do.
It's a great choice. So, you and I kind of laughed a little bit. We don't want to go too far into the whole COVID conversation. I do sense, though, that as a coach and as a consultant and interacting with people, and I'm just curious what your thought is, that as this time drags on, it is more challenging for people because we're getting to that point where it's just more challenging. So is it just me, or it is, it's becoming more and more challenging to deal with what we're dealing with?
Yeah, I think we're at the end of our rope.
Yeah, and you said that. I love the way you said that.
Sometimes in a storm, it's got to get worse before it gets better. And I think that's the part we're in right now. We're releasing the last remnants of whatever it is we're supposed to be doing as a collective, as a world collective, which is why things are nuts.
Right.
I also think that sometimes, this is my experience, I had to be pushed with my back against the wall with health concerns. I was practicing law. I was a mediator. I had 2 children and I was running a household. Now, who of us are in the same boat? Many, many, many of us are doing this and have done this. And my health was failing, and I wasn't sick, but my cells were sick. And I had to almost be flat, and I just had my second child who sucked everything out of me, little bugger. He's now 25, and I just love it. We do podcasts together. But anyway, I had to be pushed against the wall before I actually took a step that I said I never would to change my health. So I think, having said that, some people have to be pushed, have to fall on the floor, have their back pushed up against a wall, reach a crisis before they actually will do something to help themselves.
Okay.
That's maybe harsh, and I'm sorry to anybody whose feelings I've hurt, but that often is the catalyst for change, is crisis.
So let's talk about, you said something in what we prepared, and you said that you talk about stress, and you talk about that the subconscious actually in some aspects creates our own stress.
Absolutely.
So talk to us about that.
Okay. Whoa. So stress, people like to think that stress is outside of us. You know, my boss is stress, or my kids are stressed, or my money problems are stressed, or whatever. Those are stressors. Those are simply the category of things that we've told ourselves are problems. And so I'm trying to organize my thought because this is a really long answer. So
don't get stressed out.
Right. Practice what I preach.
That's exactly it.
So we come equipped with an excellent system, and that's our autonomic nervous system, which has kept us out of danger for a millennia, or however long anyone chooses to think we've been on the planet. And it's worked because we're at 8 billion people on the planet. And so this fight or flight system has kept us out of danger. So the short answer is we've hijacked that with our very overdeveloped frontal lobes that allow us to engage in higher thinking, strategic planning, analytical reasoning, all of those things. We've now hijacked this idea of real stress, and that is we come out of the cave and there's a saber-toothed tiger, to, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose my partner, or whatever. So we engage in worry and regret and all kinds of things that are actually not happening. What did Mark Twain once say? I've had something like this. I've had a lot of terrible things in my life, and some of them actually happened. Anyway, the fact is that we've hijacked this danger system, and we keep ourselves in fight or flight all day long. Like, just watch the news, see what that does to you. Listen to your neighbors talk about the situation, see what that does to you, whatever. So the fact is, we have to understand that we've been programmed to become this way. We've been programmed by our childhood. We're programmed in utero. Do you know that? Before we're even born, we are sensitive to our mother's predominant cascades of emotion and thinking. And we absorb this energetically. Also, the stress hormone cortisol crosses the placental barrier, can cause great damage. Even before we're born. Then we're born into this world where we're fed this program of whatever it is, what is success, what is bad, what is good, what is right, what is wrong. And particularly, and there'll be some agreement about what's not right and what's wrong, what's right, what's good, what's bad, but our own judgment about that, our own feelings about certain things. Pick something that really ticks you off.
No, let's not start.
Don't
let's not go there.
Okay, but the fact is, we have individual reactions to what happens in our lives and to certain people, and so it's this that fuels that. Yeah.
So how do we become more resilient? Like right now, we need resiliency.
Yes, we do.
How do we become more resilient?
Okay, we have to understand that we're causing our stress and we are reacting, and the fact
it's our fault.
What's that?
So it's our fault. We got to realize it's our fault.
Pat, it's your fault. Let's just
there you go. It's always my fault.
Yes, right. We'll start with that.
Okay.
And we'll go to something else. What we have to understand. So HeartMath defines resilience as having the capacity, or how much you have of something, to prepare for, adapt in, and recover from stress, adversity, and challenge. Now, most people think resilience is, staying strong through something, and it is.
Right.
And recovering from something, and it is. But the fact is that we're trained to get up through force and will and drive to stay strong through a project, and then we collapse.
Yeah.
That's not resilience. Then we take longer and longer and longer to recover, or we numb, or we collapse, we get sick, whatever, but eventually we bounce back. It's how we shorten the curve on that recovery is being resilient, but collapsing is not resilience. So resilience is something we have to prepare for. Resilience is equal to the amount of energy that we have in our body to address everything in our lives. And we know We know, for example, in a very small piece, if we have a great sleep one night, we have whatever is good sleep. So if I got 8 hours of solid sleep, I would think that I would have died. But anyway, the fact is that the next day I feel like $1,000,000. I have energy. I'm happy. I'm magnanimous. My life looks amazing. So just that, restoring my energy, and I do feel like that most days, by the way, but just that would have added that little cap of, wow, this is amazing. So when we work on within ourselves, being quiet is one of those things. There are certain techniques that HeartMath teaches. It's not just about being quiet. This is using breath, mindfulness, and renewing emotion. We create a lifestyle of resilience. And this is like a Teflon coating where stuff that usually gets under your skin will actually bounce off. You don't even see stuff to react to. And you can look at things and go, you know what? That's not even triggering me anymore. Or you can get through something and you can actually be clear. You have strength, you have resilience, you have energy to address and think clearly and have good judgment, problem solve effortlessly. That's what we're talking about. That is true resilience. And most days, not just once in a while.
And I'm assuming that it's hard to have a lot of resilience if you're not taking some of these steps and you add all the elements in our world in the last year.
Well, here's the thing. We've got automatic responses in our body, which are beautiful. So the relationship between the brain and the autonomic nervous system, and that's signaling danger or something's happening you don't like. What happens is it signals the heart, and I am answering your question actually. It signals the heart to beat differently on a beat-to-beat basis, and then the heart informs the brain on what's happening with the heart. That's kind of how that feedback loop works. The fact is, we'll never outthink our thinking, and there's a whole complicated reason for that, but they're different parts of the brain. So the only way that we're going to affect this autonomic response in our body is to change our heart rhythms. This is a very physiological, medical science approach. And when you can actually change your heart rhythms, Pat, you inform your brain differently. And so particularly your thalamus, for example. So this is the executive functioning piece that I talked a little bit about, where you plan what you're going to do. It affects that. So now when you can actually take the steps and think more clearly, you affect your autonomic nervous system, which speaks to your heart. And now you've created a more positive feedback loop of resilience. That's a very short, truncated version.
Well, it reminds me, one of our recent guests is John Davis. He choreographs sword fights for theater and movies.
Cool.
And yeah, it was really cool. And he wasn't from Canada, I know that. And
no, we don't do that here.
Well, what's that?
We don't do that here.
Yeah, you don't do that there. No. And he talked about how actors and actresses, one of the ways that they're trained when they lose their line, because they know their lines, how they're trained to get back on track on their lines is to change their breathing. So
cool.
So you just validated that. So I want to pull you back to your journey of success. If you had to do it all over again, and you were coaching this 20-some-year-old that's looking at you for mentorship or coaching, and say, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? What would you tell them?
Wow. When I look back in my life, I don't have regrets. I mean, I fully appreciate that what I needed to learn came to me when I was ready.
Right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have learned it. And that's the same for anybody. But what I like to say is I like to help shorten the curve for people to figure out what their path is. And that is to do this work, to choose thoughts, to choose emotions, to understand subconscious belief systems, to practice resilience the HeartMath way. That's what I'm trained to do. Yes, there are other ways, there are other pathways to this, but this is what is going to help somebody shorten the curve and stop flailing around and meeting up with paths that just are not meant for them. I mean, it's understanding this kind of a cool story. I attended a workshop one weekend put on by the Coactive Training Institute of California, and it was called The Dance of Soul and Ego. Like, lovely title. And we were asked on the first Friday night, what did we want to learn? And I said, I want to know the difference between the voice of my soul speaking to me and the voice of the ego. And I learned what that was. And this is probably the best advice, because I'll shortcut to your question. You're going to ask.
You're taking over. Okay, go ahead.
I do that. Damn, I'm so sorry. The voice of your soul. No, let's talk about the voice of the ego first. The voice of the ego is that clanging, I need this now. It's loud, it's insistent, it is dissonant with our personal energy, but it captures our attention. That is the voice of everything that's been created, that we carry in our minds, that we think is real life and true. And the best answers for us, that's the critical piece. It's not. So the voice of your soul, so the real you, your inner voice, your inner power, is very quiet. It is powerful, but it is quiet. It is insistent. It will come around again. But the fact is, it is because it's resonant with your real energy. Mm-hmm. You have to be quiet to hear it. But that is the voice I am trying to encourage people to follow. But you're not going to hear it until you're quiet.
So is that part of the HeartMath system? Is that like is that part of that, or is that a different part? Like the quietness, because I've heard you say this a couple of times, and my aha in listening to you is I got to figure out how to be more quiet.
Sure. It's not HeartMath per se, but it is HeartMath. I mean, okay. HeartMath talks about sitting, and if you practice the technique that I can tell you about in a second, what do they say? 5 to 15 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week, you will actually change your physical baseline. So your natural default set point for your freak out. Okay. Right? So how you feel about your life, that soundtrack of your life where you are whole and complete and balanced.
You mean like when the idiot that's driving in front of you isn't driving fast enough and you go, where the heck did you get your license from?
Exactly. The gas is on the right.
Okay, so let's go. Let's take the minute and let's hear how we do this. Because I'm telling you, my aha is I need to be quiet.
Starting now, Pat.
Starting now.
Just kidding. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we are learning to breathe and breath work. Anybody who does breath work will tell you it's so healing. And breath and mindfulness, what's that? We've been doing that for thousands of years. It's called yoga. So what you're doing is you, in a nutshell, very quickly, something called heart-focused breathing, and that is to learn to breathe in and out through your nose, in a very slow the pace. So what you want to do is you want to breathe in for like 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds. So you want to start that. And while you're doing that, you want to start thinking about your heart in the center of your chest. So there's two things, Pat. Now you're a man, so dicey. But you want to try.
Okay, now I just went off. There goes my quietness. Unbelievable.
I'm your saboteur too.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're doing is you're breathing in and out through your nose, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and you create a pattern. And here's the cool thing: when you're thinking about your breath, it's called following your breath. Mm-hmm. You're not thinking about something else. You can have one thought, one emotion at a time. So what's it going to be? So this is your time for as long as you can is to think about breathing in the center of your chest. You will eventually start thinking about breathing in and out through your heart. Part of the process. So now you're starting to engage your heart. That is called heart-focused breathing. And if you manage to do that in some way for 5 minutes every day, you'll change. Now, this is the piece that's going to change it, and that is to bring in what we call renewing emotion. So all emotion is good, because emotions tell you this is good. So that person is good, this place is good, this is what you're thinking is good. And when you feel yucky, whatever you're thinking about or engaging in or who you're with is yucky. So again, that's your soul speaking to you. So we talk about renewing and depleting emotion, not good or bad, positive or negative. So renewing emotion is the key to heart coherence. It'll create the amplitude in the wave of your heart rhythms, not your heart rate. So when you get in the rhythm of breath and thinking about breathing in and out through your heart, you want to have created a list of things that make you feel good, who you love, what you love doing. And what you want to do is you want to generate or conjugate these emotions around your heart. And it takes time to practice this. But when you practice, so this is called the quick coherence technique. When you practice the heart focused breathing, you start bringing in renewing emotion, and you're filling your body with this beautiful, wonderful feeling. That is how you build coherence over time. Yep. And here's the cool thing is, because you're changing your body, you're changing your heart rhythms.
Right.
This is how you ground lasting change. This is not in the moment. This is style, and this is changing everything for good if you continue to practice.
I love it. And I love so we always ask our guests the best advice, and I love the best advice, the conversation.
You already gave?
Yeah, what's that?
That I already gave?
Yeah, you already gave. Yeah. So I love that. So let's flip it upside down. What's the worst advice you've ever been given as an entrepreneur, business owner, individual? What's the worst advice that hopefully you didn't follow, or what did you learn?
Yeah. Long ago, maybe I wasn't told this directly, but I got the message that when something isn't working out, you work harder.
Yeah.
How
many times have we heard that?
Yeah. So work harder, but that's our natural inclination. We all do it. And I still find myself, even knowing better, I find myself doing that. Anyway, the fact is, when we look at the wisdom around that, I mean, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And we have to understand the concept of resistance. And so this is a good way to close this, Pat, because this is really about the COVID thing that we're not going to talk about.
Okay.
And that is where there's resistance. This is Newton's third law. So this is physics. This is a law of life. This is the law of the universe. This operates whether we understand it or not. And that is, for every action, there's an equal reaction. It's what allows planes to fly. I mean, how can those big planes stay in the air?
Right.
Because of the law of lift. Big cruise liners in the ocean, how do they stay afloat? The law of buoyancy. The fact is, our energetic response to things, how we think and how we feel, is an offering of energy, and whatever we're thinking comes back to us. So we got to stop fighting things. And so when things aren't working, we get mad, we're working harder. Guess what's happening? We're going nowhere. And I'll just close with a short story of Mother Teresa, as she then was. She's now Saint Teresa. She's been canonized by the church. She was invited long ago to participate in a march against violence, and she refused. Now, it's not because she thinks violence is a good thing or thought that. She said to them, if you insist on organizing a march against violence, I can't come. But she said, if you instead organize a march or a rally for peace, I will lead it for you. So the fact is, we have to stop fighting things, and we have to go forward with something. So let's stop the fight against cancer, and let's join the path for wellness. Let's stop fighting terrorism. Let's join the path of peace.
Yeah.
We need to stop fighting things. So that working harder. So what I do immediately is I stop and I tweak, or I wait for guidance. I pray. I ask myself, okay, what am I missing? What do I need to learn? What do I need to heal? What do I need to let go of? Show me. And I'm telling you, 100% of the time, 2000%. Yes, I failed math. I get an answer. I did fail math. So that working hard thing, just work harder.
Yeah.
Is dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's terrible advice, right? It's terrible advice. Well, Christine, you have absolutely given us a lot to think about today, and I just appreciate everything you put on the table, and the ego versus, what did you call it?
The soul.
The ego versus the soul.
The dance of soul and ego.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that for me, that besides being quiet, and that's going to be a work in progress. So first of all, thank you so much for being here today. Listeners, as you know, you can always subscribe, and we'd always love to have your feedback, your ratings, www.thesuccessascent.com or at your favorite podcast source. Christine, thanks again for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Loved it.
And as I end every show, everybody be healthy, be happy, and be safe. Take care, everybody. Until next time.